Hey there, Seekers, and welcome back. I'm your host, Julienne Irons, and in our last episode, we began exploring the father wound with Dr. Karima Joy. She helped us name what this wound actually is, especially when it shows up as an absence or a kind of grief we never had language for. She also introduced us to the idea of developing our own inner daddy as part of that healing process. Today, we're shifting our focus to how the father wound lives in the body. Our guest today is Stella Dove, an inner child healer specializing in attachment wounds and nervous system recalibration. She works with the emotional imprints of childhood, abandonment, shame, people-pleasing, and the survival patterns that silently shape relationships, identity, and self-worth. Stella blends somatic awareness, clinical hypnosis, and trauma-informed emotional recalibration to create deep embodied change that insight alone cannot reach. Stella's going to help us notice the moment something tightens, pulls away, or braces for impact, and show us how to stay present with that experience instead of fixing it, analyzing it, or pushing it down. This is Perspective Shifts for Healing with the Hanged Woman, where perspective is power. Let's get into it. Hey Seekers, if you're building a business and something feels off, like you're doing all the right things but the momentum still isn't there, it might not just be a strategy problem. At 3 of Cups Healing, we offer intuitive marketing solutions using tarot, energy healing, and heart-centered creative guidance. Because the way you feel in your business shapes how you show up, how you make decisions, and how you grow. We help emerging business owners turn inner alignment into outward momentum, so your business can grow with more ease, clarity, and intention. Seekers, if you're ready to build your business in a way that actually feels supportive, book a free consultation with us at 3ofcupshealing.com. Your vision, your magic. Let's make it real. Together. That's 3ofcupshealing.com. And now, back to the episode. Stella Dove, welcome to the show. I literally have goosebumps right now because our conversations up until this point have been so full of love and light, and they've been so soothing. And I was like anxious this morning because sometimes I wake up anxious, and I was like, oh wait, I get to talk to Stella Dove, and it really just calmed me down. Like the work that you do with the inner child, like all of the work that you do, your trauma work, it's just so healing, and I'm so excited to have you here. So thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Oh, my darling, thank you for that beautiful introduction. What can I say? It's we really did connect on a heart level.
Mhm.
And it's so aligned. And working with the inner child is such a privilege and an honor. And it's something that, although it's very serious work, I think there can be a lot of joy in our
Yeah.
discovery of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
So before we dive into everything, can you just share a little bit about your work and what drew you to somatic approaches to healing?
Absolutely. So I work with the parts that never really got to feel safe growing up. And we tend to call that personality, but it isn't. It's a nervous system imprint. And a lot of people have come to me having done years of therapy or self-development, and although they can understand themselves intellectually and they know what to do, their body still reacts like they're small and unprotected because you can't really think your way out of those emotions. And so my work is really around inner child healing because that's where our attachment patterns and survival strategies first formed. But here comes the missing piece. We work with it through the body, not just the mind, because for so many people, it's that piece that's been missing. When we learn when we're very young to override our feelings and push through discomfort, we ignore the signals that our body's sending. So we get very good at analyzing and criticizing ourselves, but yet very disconnected with how we actually feel in the moment. Somatic work is simply slowing down enough to listen again, to help the nervous system feel safe enough to update those imprints. Because when the body feels safe, change doesn't have to be forced, it just happens naturally.
I love that so much. So when you work with clients around the father wound, how does it tend to show up in the body in the moment?
Well, in the moment, it's very physical. People don't
Mm.
sort of say, oh, my father wound has been activated. Right? Their
Right.
body changes first. It's the shoulders that tense, breath becomes shallow, your jaw might tighten, you might suddenly go quiet or feel an urge to over explain and justify yourself, or feel an urge to prove yourself, or perhaps you do something like disappearing and avoiding and hiding. So it shows up less like a story and more like a protection, like you're bracing for something because you don't feel it's safe.
Mm.
It's recognizing that that's key.
Wow, yeah. So what are some early signs that we might notice that this wound has been activated? I know you just mentioned a few of them, but what about in like relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. So in relationships, it's things like overthinking a text message. Now, this is a big one. Rereading it like 10 times, or rewriting something you want to say over and over, and thinking that, it's the detail that counts rather than just expressing how you feel in the moment,
Mm.
or feeling quite intimidated around authority figures, going back into people pleasing, or sort of completely shutting down and almost not being able to speak at all, because you you will notice yourself shape shifting when you don't feel safe.
I notice that in myself quite
Ah,
often, and so many of the things that you just said, I'm like, oh yeah, I do all of them.
yeah,
Like,
we all do.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
I guess it's this is the part, is this pause, and we'll go into that a bit more, is recognizing it and then not allowing your inner critic to then take over and say, I can't get this right, I always do this, rather than speaking in absolutes. It's
Mm.
when you get to that place saying, I've noticed I tend to do this,
Mhm.
that's where we get some healing around it.
So for those of us who think I am fine until I'm suddenly not, what might you want us to understand about that shift?
Yeah, I love that, because it's not sudden. And that is where the learning comes. We think it's sudden, like we have this sudden trigger and we react strongly. But what's usually happening is the body's been tracking for a while. So you've noticed something that's made you uncomfortable or feel unsafe, like the tone of someone's voice or their facial expression, or there's like a hint of disconnection. And then there's a tipping point. So it's not that you've overreacted, it's that your nervous system has recognized something and it's moved into protection before your mind's caught up. So this is in truth intelligence, not brokenness. It's your system trying to actually keep you safe.
Yeah, system trying to protect us.
Yeah.
So you focus a lot on noticing patterns as they're happening, right? Rather than analyzing them later. Why is that distinction so important for us?
Insight is a very valuable thing, right? We need it, but it usually happens after the event. So it's like doing a post mortem. It's done. The thing is done. You understand why you reacted, but the moment's already passed. So if we only analyze later we're missing the exact moment when the body goes into protection. That's the part. So if you can notice it as it's happening, the point when your chest tightens, or that you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, or that point where you suddenly lose words, and when after you say, I wish I'd have said that. That's that point. If you can notice it then, before you start doing the over explaining and all of our coping mechanisms, that is when your choice comes back online, because your awareness in real time is where change becomes possible, not afterwards.
Not after.
Aha.
Yeah. Hmm. So, how can we begin to recognize the difference between our old survival response and what's actually happening in the present moment?
Okay. So, one of the simplest ways to tell is speed. Survival responses are really fast and automatic, like quite childlike. It's urgent. I have to fix this now. I've got to do something now. And we catastrophize and we say something bad, something terrible is going to happen. That moment, everything drops when you look at the text message. That is key, because healing says the present moment has more space than that. This is where you pause and you gently look around. Literally, you orient to the room and notice, how old do I feel right now? Am I reacting to what's actually happening, or am I being reminded of something? And here's how you can tell. Usually, if it feels bigger than the situation, it's older than the situation.
So, if what we're feeling in the moment feels bigger than what we're dealing with right now, that's an older survival response that we're having.
Exactly. You have just been reminded of an imprint and a belief from your survival mechanisms. And it is so natural to go back there, but it's the pause that helps the adult come back online, not the inner child. And from there, you can respond instead of react, because that's all your inner child can do. And until they are calm and feel safe, they will take over. Really, you do not want her running the show. You're the adult now.
You said just before, you said healing has more space.
Yeah.
Can you expand on that a little bit? Because that feels really healing.
The way I explain it to clients is, if you could imagine that you are in the middle of your own TV show, and you can press pause right now and stop time and give yourself a moment to really understand what's going on. And like I said, how old do you feel right now? Is this bigger than the situation? What am I feeling in this moment? Is this an old pattern? Obviously, we can't stop time, I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could, right? But what we can do is take a breath in and give ourselves one slower exhalation. Nothing is going to happen in that time frame, but it actually feels more expansive. The more that you heal, the more connected you are to your soma and what you're really experiencing, the faster you will make the connections and act from a place of healing rather than react from your wound.
So, when our body goes into this protection or shutdown, what does it actually mean to stay present without trying to fix or override what's happening in the body?
Yeah, well, a lot of us learned very young that uncomfortable feelings, they need to be fixed or they need to be suppressed or, they're not going to be addressed. And so what happens is the body goes into protection, and our first instinct is to override the uncomfortable feelings, to breathe differently and to think differently. And most people believe that the healing process is almost sort of forcing calm, but it doesn't happen like that. It happens when you stay present with yourself, when you're not scared of the emotions you're feeling, and when you're prepared to just notice and accept and understand. So it's thinking, oh, well, my chest feels tight, or my throat feels like it's closing, or I've got this feeling like I really want to disappear right now. All of the little warnings we have, and being there without trying to correct it, because that's the wound, is instantly trying to correct it. So we go into the people pleasing or the over explaining or the hiding or whatever is our mechanism. The body, when it feels safe, won't need to be forced because it will just feel safe enough to express.
We talk a lot about compassion on the show. I feel like it comes up in pretty much every theme that we discuss is having compassion for ourselves. So, what role does compassion play in meeting these moments, especially when there's frustration or self-judgment involved?
Oh my gosh, I just love the way you asked me that. And it's everything. Compassion is everything because most people don't just suffer from the wound. It's not really about the wound, it's how much they suffer because how hard they are on themselves about the wound. The shame, the guilt, the internalizing. Oh, there's this inner voice that says, why am I still like this? Why can't I get it right? I should be over it by now. And the more self-judgment we have, the more our body tightens to it. And it just becomes self-perpetuating. What compassion does is the opposite. It just tells the nervous system, and we do this in many ways, you're not in trouble. You're okay now. You're allowed to feel these feelings. And the more we just even gently say, you're okay, you've got this, you're okay, the body just can soften. Compassion is the most healing gift we always think we can give outwardly, but actually inwardly is really where the healing happens.
Mm. Oh, that soothed my soul as I sit here giving myself compassion for my own self-judgment. I'm hard on myself so much, and it's that constant reminder of like, give yourself compassion, give yourself compassion.
The inner critic, it's that voice. Oh my goodness, if we could silence that voice. The thing is that we have to learn it lives within us to keep us safe, and it's got a job to do and it wants to be heard. But the more compassionate we can be with the inner critic and see it for who it is, it's not very sophisticated. We can get the inner critic to stand down a bit and just go, okay, I can hear you, but I'm just going to turn the volume down a bit, and it's not going to, I'm not going to feel like I'm, completely broken. It's just a moment in time.
So, what would you say to those of us who do feel like we're doing healing wrong because the patterns just keep showing up for us?
Yeah, that's it. It so naturally goes into that, doesn't it? I mean, I would say to someone, it doesn't mean you're failing. It's actually the birth of your new beginning. It's awareness. It's coming in. It means if you notice the patterns, even if you're still repeating them, you have to remember that those patterns have formed over years, decades even. And they're not going to just suddenly disappear because you've heard one podcast or read one blog or done one exercise. It softens through repetition and safety. And it might not sound as glamorous and sexy as other methodologies, but this works because if something keeps coming back, it's it's a message. It's a message from your younger self, from your inner child, asking for a bit more care, to notice something, to be aware of something, and to act on it rather than just keep suppressing it. Because healing isn't about getting rid of parts of you, it's about building relationships with them, however quirky and crazy they are. But it's accepting and loving yourself and remembering who you are. And for some people, they say, I can't remember. I don't know who I was before I experienced trauma, right? We're trying to build personalities that we say came before we really knew who we were. But I would argue that you are you. You are than you. Deep inside you is you. And it's beautiful and perfect exactly as it is. And it's about being allowed to be that, guilt free, shame free.
Okay, Seekers, I think this is a really great place to take a break. We'll be right back with the episode. Here's a perspective shift. Your business doesn't need more pushing, it needs alignment. At 3 of Cups Healing, we offer intuitive marketing solutions using tarot, energy healing, and heart-centered creative guidance. We help emerging business owners turn clarity into momentum and vision into action. So, Seekers, if you're ready to grow your business with more intention and ease, book a free consultation with us at 3ofcupshealing.com. Your vision, your magic. Let's make it real. Together. That's 3ofcupshealing.com. And now, back to the episode. So how does the father wound often affect how safe we feel in like closeness and leadership or being seen? I know that's something that I've struggled with a lot is like being seen and also closeness. Like I hold like my friends and the people that I trust the most like really close, but everybody else I'm just like 10-foot pole. Like you can't get close to me unless I trust you, you know?
I don't think that's such a bad thing after all. But I do know what you
Yeah.
mean, and I do understand there is sometimes a feeling of isolation around uh, um,
Yes.
uh, the need to stay safe after a father wound. So, yes, it's around visibility and it's around being seen, because if your early experience of authority or protection felt unreliable, or particularly if it was critical or absent, the body learns that being seen isn't safe, and therefore we have this desperate rush for approval. So in adult relationships, it would look like shrinking away and avoiding, or over accommodating, toxic empathy, the desperate need for approval comes in, or feeling really anxious about being put in a leadership role, even if you're meant to. It's who am I? Or who am I to take up space or demand or ask for anything? And I see this a lot with really capable people who suddenly feel small around bosses, partners, or anyone they perceive as having power. So this is about you subordinating your needs and your wants because it feels quite scary. If it's something you want, then that becomes authority and you treat it as such. So this isn't about confidence. This isn't a confidence issue, it's a nervous system memory about seeking approval. It's the body bracing for disapproval or for abandonment before anything's even happened. So that's where the disappearance comes in, the overperforming is this very real, very understandable desire to earn your safety, to justify yourself.
Wow, yeah. So when our body is activated, what are some small ways that we can stay connected to ourselves instead of going on just autopilot?
Yeah, autopilot, that functional freeze, that thing.
That thing that we
It
all
really
do.
is a thing.
Yeah.
And then we convince ourselves we're fine because if we're achievers and or you know you can say, well, I'm working, it's good, or you know, especially people who are really into their fitness, I'm running every day, I'm good, I'm good. But actually, if it's done to excess, it is about being activated, so you need to watch out for that. And here is the thing: small is actually way more effective than big tools to deal with these triggers. This really is so subtle that you'd hardly notice it. It's sometimes just pausing and feeling your feet on the floor, or feeling, your bum cheeks on the chair. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say bum. I'm allowed to say bum cheeks. Bum cheeks.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, the small bum cheeks. Okay, those buns, feeling those buns rooting into the seat, rooting your feet into the floor, looking around the room, reminding yourself, as crazy as it sounds, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm an adult. I used to have a joke with a client. I used to say to her, is the bear in the room?
Right.
You don't have to deal with it until the grizzly is actually in the room, because we're prepared for this bear, but the bear doesn't actually arrive. So, what we want to do is just say to ourselves, I used to say to her to get her back in line, is the bear is not in the room and I'm safe here. I'm safe. Just put a hand on your chest, slow your exhale down, think about what you can see in front of you and what you can physically feel. Like I said, your bum in that seat, because autopilot happens when we're leaving ourselves. And so we're going to go outside of our body to escape. But just this tiny bit of contact, this pause, this recognition of your feet on the ground, or the sensation of how you feel on a chair, or finding something in a color you like to look at, anything that anchors you back into the present, helps you get back online. It doesn't have to be traumatic. We're not asking you to hyperventilate or, take up a power pose. They're great. They're great tools at other times. But if this is what you're dealing with, this wound in this moment, and you're asking me about this is a micro management thing. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be planned. It just has to be, I'm here and I'm safe, through small means of awareness.
Putting my feet on the ground and putting my hand in my heart and telling myself that I am safe. I'm going to try the color thing too, because that's something that I haven't heard before. Like, look at a color that you love, or just look at a color and take that color in. I think that's so powerful.
Oh, it's wonderful, especially if like green is very grounding, right? So it may be just find three green things, connect them up, or just, oh, yeah, observing shapes, colors, textures, giving yourself that moment to be really truly present. And and just, yeah, appreciating what your eyes can show you, what the reality is around you. It's super grounding.
So, Stella, how can someone work with this in everyday moments like conversations or when we're at work or in intimate moments?
We don't need to do a whole big process. And that is entirely the point. It's about micro pauses. So, for example, if you're in a conversation, you might notice your body tighten. And instead of immediately suppressing that, over explaining, people pleasing, the second you notice the feeling, the chest tightening, the gut rumbling, the jaw clenching, pause and breathe, even if it's just once. It's a hell of a lot longer than you've probably ever done. And this is how we slowly stretch this pause open. At work, it might mean, just as we said before, the feeling your bum in the chair, feeling grounded, feel your feet onto the floor before you speak, saying in your mind, I'm safe, I'm here, I'm an adult, I've got this. And in those intimate moments in relationship, it could be really simple, just like saying, if a conversation is making you feel triggered, can we slow down for a second? Is that okay? I just need a minute. And really, that is the moment where you check in with what you're actually feeling instead of performing closeness, performing that you've got this. It's allowing yourself to think, I might feel like I need a moment to really assess this. It doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but it actually changes everything internally because it allows you to connect back to yourself while you're relating instead of abandoning yourself to keep the connection.
So, you often talk about integration rather than resolution. What does integration look like with the father wound?
Yeah, because I talk about integration because resolution can sound like we're trying to erase something as if it never happened and tied it all up. But with the father wound, or really any early developmental wound, we're not deleting the past. We're learning how to live with it and live with it without the wound running the show. So integration looks a lot less like than a big kind of powerful raw breakthrough. It's more like very small incremental changes, but they're powerful. So it may be just as simple as you speak up just a little bit sooner than you would have done before. You don't people please quite as much. You start having a bit more gumption, terribly British
I
sounding
love it. Gumption.
gumption, gumption. You do. You just get a little bit more welly in there. You recover way faster when you get triggered, and you slowly but surely start feeling more yourself. And a lot of people say, but Stella, I don't even know who myself is because I've been people pleasing and shape shifting for so long, I don't even know. But the truth is, yourself is in there, and it's remembering might be in inverted commas because you might not have this memory, but it is who you are. You just get more self trust in your own authentic self, which is very joyful.
How do we begin to build trust with our bodies when this wound has taught us to brace or to disconnect?
It's slow. Trust with the body is built in exactly the same way you build any kind of relationship, slowly and consistently, which doesn't sound terribly exciting, but that is how it works. Because so many of us probably listening to this podcast have spent years overriding the body, pushing through exhaustion, ignoring our feelings, ignoring pain, because we talked ourselves out of what we actually sensed so that we could just exist. If you imagine from the body's perspective, it feels betrayed. It feels like, well, we haven't been very reliable so far. But rebuilding trust, although it sounds really, really simple and basic, the whole point is the consistency when you build the trust. So you can't just do this one day and then think I'm done. This will unfold over a period of time. It's about listening. And when something feels off, allowing it to register rather than, sometimes you just do it, you ignore it. It's all of those. Resting when you're tired, taking a time out if you need to, honoring no when you feel like you want to say no, following through on your own self-care rather than it being an abstract idea. So all these moments, these little micro moments where your body learns, oh, she's actually paying attention to me now. After a while, the bracing will soften because it's not fighting to be heard, and it's actually getting the attention it deserves.
Oh, yeah. It just wants to be seen. It just wants to
Yeah,
be recognized.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
tired of shouting.
Tired of shouting. Once we recognize it, then it'll be like, okay, thank you for seeing me. I can relax a little bit.
And have you ever had an empowering moment where you have acted on that instinct? Something's been a bit off and you've been able to say it in a way that feels comfortable to you. There is this little feeling of empowerment afterwards. What we're looking for is to make that your baseline, your authentic self.
So, how do we anchor that then? Like when we do get to that baseline, when we do feel that empowering moment, what do we do to anchor that in the moment?
It's actually about the gentle recognition that you did not ignore the signal and allowing yourself to experience the fact that you're still safe, that you're okay, and that you expressed your needs and nothing terrible happened. And you are in the here and now. You are not that little girl anymore. And it is repetition, repetition, repetition.
Stella, what's one belief about healing or somatic work that you'd love us to let go of?
If a pattern keeps showing up, we develop the belief that we failed and that we're not enough, or we're too much, or we're doing healing wrong, particularly if we've experienced, a lot of therapy or personal development work, and we went to the seminar and we bought the book and it's still not working.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, who hasn't, right? And then, and then we feel again, we've failed. We've set ourselves up, you see, and we failed. So, what I would really love people to know is that they're not doing anything wrong, Most of what we have believed about ourselves and come to sort of label them as problems are adaptations. They're just really intelligent ways the body learned to survive. And nothing is actually wrong with you. That's what I really want people to know. Your system just learned a way to protect you. You're not broken. And now you understand it, you're becoming.
Stella, if someone takes just one thing from this conversation, what do you hope it is?
Oh, my darling. Okay. So, what I would really love someone to take from this is you don't have to force yourself to heal. That's not healing. You don't have to fix or fight your body. Healing happens when you slow down enough to listen and allow. Once you feel safe, once you feel truly safe in yourself and accepting in yourself, everything else will follow.
Once I feel safe within myself, everything else will follow. And by everything else, what do you mean?
That you will stop subordinating yourself to the wants and needs of others. You will stop automatically people pleasing or avoiding whatever is your style. You'll stop ignoring the somatic signals to your body that you're not in the right place or at the right time, and that you will have the confidence in yourself to express your wants and needs, because you will feel integrated. You'll be in a place of self-acceptance.
This has been such a healing and calming conversation. Like, I feel so at ease after talking to you.
Oh,
I feel like the
beautiful.
anxiety I had at the top of the show has dissipated, and I thank you so much for your wisdom and for being here and for talking to us today. Stella, where can people find you if you'd like to be found?
I would love to be found. And I just want to say to you, thank you so much for honoring me with this time and allowing me to share. And it's been a privilege for me to hang out with you, my darling. So, how can you find me? You can find me at emotionaltherapy.uk. That's where like my writing and my resources, that's where I post everything. And I share my weekly reflections through my newsletter. So that's Stories with Stella. And and if you feel called to work with me, you're always welcome to book a discovery call.
Well, Stella, do you feel complete?
I do feel complete. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's just been so lovely.
So, Seekers, this was part 2 of our practical episodes and the perfect segue into our science episodes, where we'll look at the science of the father wound in a whole new way. We'll be joined again by neuroscience expert Dr. DeMarty Burgos and Joshua Riverdahl, a speaker, performer, and mental health advocate whose work explores identity, grief, and the lifelong impact of father loss. As the founder of I Am Possible Project, he helps people turn personal pain into purpose through storytelling and suicide prevention advocacy. Joshua joins us to share his personal father wound story, and Dr. DeMarty Burgos breaks down what's happening beneath the surface in real time. We'll explore how father wounds shape identity, nervous system patterns, and the stories we build to survive. It's personal, it's scientific, and it might connect some dots you didn't even know were there. I'm Julienne Irons, and this is Perspective Shifts for Healing with the Hanged Woman. If this episode inspired you, please like, share, and follow so we can keep the conversation going. Until next time, hang in there, Seeker.